with some headlines here. Maybe not necessarily the headline that you would think about when you're talking about Texas high school football recruiting. We're going to be talking about the Stanford Cardinal, because is Stanford kind of back in the state of Texas? I mean, they've made a lot of noise the past couple of weeks, not only picking up some high profile recruits, but flipping one actually. So we'll start off with Conroe cornerback Xavier Harmon. He committed to Stanford May 24th. We'll go to Honey Grove athlete Rylan Morris. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he was currently committed to Baylor for the longest time. All throughout his junior season, I believe he was committed to Baylor, flipped to Stanford recently. Georgetown interior offensive lineman Caden Scherer, he committed on June 9th. And then Rockwall cornerback Jack Duckworth, he committed just a couple of days ago, and we actually got to speak to him at the Flower Mound Marcus State qualifying tournament just this past weekend about why he chose the Stanford Cardinal.
First of all, like, the academics are second to none. Like, you can't get that anywhere else in the whole world. So that's number one on my list for that. And then I still get to do that while playing the top football in the country, like ACC football. So being able to play Power 4 football and get a great degree is just what I want. And then they don't take a lot of transfers. They focus on developing players. So that's what got me a lot too. So that's pretty much why. And then it's the best university in the world. Like, you can't get an education like that. It's beautiful out there. And there's many opportunities for me to play there too. So I'm thankful for my opportunity to go there.
And I think what he said about Stanford is going to be kind of a theme when it comes to talking to a lot of these players about, why they chose Stanford. Of course, they're a historically great football program. There's no doubt about that. But their academics are unmatched. He even said Palo Alto is a beautiful, beautiful city. I mean, and we talked about this at the state qualifying tournament, that
right.
When it comes to the summertime in Palo Alto,
for sure,
it's nothing like it is here.
It's one of my bucket list places.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been able to see the campus. I haven't been to the city. It's probably at the top of my list.
Yeah.
Tempe's another one that I would really like to see. Yeah. But Palo Alto is up there at the top. They have a historical stadium. I heard it's beautiful there. I just think it would be really cool to go visit. And I've been doing this a long time. Stanford's always been a force.
Always.
In Texas. It's just been over the last 2 to 3 years where we haven't been talking about them more predominantly as it relates to recruiting. They fell off just a tad. And now that they have general manager Andrew Luck with his Texas ties to Houston and beyond, right? Mm-hmm. Former 5-star quarterback here in the Lone Star State. It's nice to see them back, because I think it gives Texas high school football recruits a great opportunity to not only find a great athletic home, but to be able to further their academic profile as well. And as they move into jobs after football, the life and the degree that Stanford will give you, it's monumental, right? Yeah. Like, it's a big thing. But we talked about some guys. I got to talk about Rylan Morris, because I think this is such a huge get for them, because he's so athletic. And it was a setback for one of our in-state programs for Baylor to lose him, right?
Right.
I call him a slot back. He can line up in the backfield. All-purpose back may be like a more common term that you hear now. He can line up out of the backfield, but he can also split out and do some stuff in the slot, go out wide at wide receiver. He runs tremendous routes, catches the ball really well, really naturally. And Stanford getting him is a huge, huge deal. But don't sleep on any of these guys. They're all in our Rising 100. So they're all guys who really can play. Xavier Harmon is maybe the wild card in this. I think he checks in at number 74.
You've always been really high on him, though.
I like his physicality and size, his versatility. I think because he's big enough to take down the bigger bodied wide receivers, that I like him at corner a little bit better, but he could certainly play safety, and he is just nasty. He decleats people when he hits them, and you don't say that about cornerback prospects very often. So, great job, Stanford. creeping up the list on some of these Texas kids, and maybe there's some more names to watch as well.
Like North Crowley, interior offensive lineman John Turntine. He had an official visit there, posted some pictures, and he looked pretty excited to be up there. And then another one to keep your eye on if you're a Stanford fan is Mansfield wide receiver Zion Robinson, and he has an official visit scheduled to Stanford coming up here in the next couple weeks or so. I think they're in pretty good hands here in the state of Texas so far. All right, let's move on. We'll talk about the Texas Longhorns.
Let's do it.
You can't talk about recruiting in the state of Texas without at least talking about the Texas Longhorns, right? They went big this past weekend. They were able to pick up Waxahachie 4-star wide receiver Cohen Brown. And he was previously committed to USC, decommits, and then picks up a bunch of big-time offers, Notre Dame being one of them. I personally thought like he might be leaning towards Notre Dame, but he took an official visit there this weekend, and then after that, he commits to the Texas Longhorns.
He was a one-time USC commit, so at one time he was headed to the West Coast as well.
You're right.
And just take a look at these highlights to kind of get a glimpse of what Texas is going to be getting in Cohen Brown. You're going to see him play a lot inside on this tape, and he uses his size and speed to outmaneuver defenders there in the slot. But I think you're going to see him do more outside wide receiver stuff this season. He's a guy who you can really move around in that wide receiver room. And the longer I talk, you're going to get to see more clips because he even flips over and provides some valuable defensive reps as well. So he's just a tremendous athlete. We have him rated as a 4-star here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football because he is a guy that I think that is going to rise up the recruiting charts as people get a chance to see him in his senior season. I think he's a little bit slept on because he went for over 1,100 yards in 11-6A, which to me is the toughest district in the country.
You got Duncanville, DeSoto. I mean, you're getting pounded week
Cedar
after
Hill,
week.
Mesquite Horn.
With talent.
Yeah, there's just tons of teams in that district that are going to provide you valuable reps against college-ready players, and he passes that test. That 1,100 yards is the most slept on 1,100 yards in the state.
I think so, too. And I think the funniest thing about him was when he was flying a little bit under the radar, Carter Yates actually went out to Waxahachie and did a recruiting notebook on the team as a whole back in May of 2024. And Carter comes back and goes, man, coaches they're telling me like Cohen Brown, he's going to be a P4 receiver. And sure enough,
they weren't lying.
They were not lying. Tape does not lie. Can
I segue just for a small moment to the game, sure. Texas high school football. Waxahachie's my sleeper team heading into this season.
They sure
I'm
are.
a big believer in the talent that they have on that team, and I think Jerry Meyer II is going to have a great year out there this year. I mean, he's already had a great year last season, went for over 3,000 yards.
So he came from Nevada, right?
Yeah, I think he was at Bishop Gorman maybe.
Well, he was like the passing leader in the state when he came over to Waxahachie.
Record holder
or something like that.
I think he went for over 5,000 yards his freshman season over there.
But so he's legit.
Yeah, he's legit. But this team, when I say sleeper, I think that if they get into the playoffs, they will get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And once they get there, they're a very, very dangerous team, a team that you don't want to be pitted against in any of those games because they could seriously knock off any of the top contenders with the talent they have on that team.
Yep. Big get for the Texas Longhorns in the class of 2026. And just as a reminder, I know it's big commitment season. It's big official visit season, big commitment season. Just to remind you that you can go to texasfootball.com/recruiting. You can go to our player profiles. We're pretty good at keeping up with all that. So if you want to check out your school, your college team, your high school team, we've got all the recruits listed and where they have committed so far. And to round it all out, let's talk about OU DNA. OU, they've had a little bit of a drought in the state of Texas when it comes to recruiting the past, I want to say year, maybe.
I would say in the class of 2026.
In the class of 2026.
It wasn't that long ago that they were getting the top-rated offensive tackle, Michael Fasusi, in 2025.
Right.
So that was a huge
It's the class of 2026 we're specifically talking about. But that drought is over. It's now raining back in Norman.
There you go.
Because they pick up a commitment from Midlothian interior offensive lineman Noah Best. And I know you've been pretty high on Noah for a long time.
Yeah, I close my eyes and think about it, and here at Dave Campbell's we're limited to 54 stars. That's the rules. 54 stars every single class, 5 stars.
Yep.
there wasn't a scenario where I thought Noah Best would have been a 3-star when I closed my eyes to think about it, right? Like I was always thinking Noah Best is definitely going to be a 4-star guy. He's finished just outside of the top 50. I think he's at number 54. So he's one of the top rated recruits in the class, but he's better to me than what I think his ranking suggests. He is a flat out mauler. He gets after people up front consistently. He's never out of position. And he plays with tremendous pad leverage.
Yeah.
And that really helps him clear out lanes. I think that he could low-key. The comparison isn't perfect. Creed Humphrey is a little bit bigger than Noah Best. They have a little bit of a different background from what systems that they come from. But if I were to make a comparison, that would be the comparison I would use, because I think Best could play center. I think that he could play guard. He could probably move and play any of those spots. And he plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that may remind some OU fans of Creed Humphrey.
And he's the second commit out of the state of Texas in the class of 2026. Of course, Ryder Mix, tight end out of Frisco Lone Star, was the first to commit from the state of Texas in the class of 2026, but that was like back in 2024. So it's been a long time. And we all know how important the Texas high school football pipeline is for Oklahoma. I mean, you take a look at this graphic here and all of the different stars that have come out of Texas high school football. I mean, you've got Marvin Mims, you've got Eli Bowman. The Bowman brothers are not on this graphic, but then you've got CeeDee Lamb, Baker Mayfield. I mean, Powers, talk a little bit about how important this pipeline is for Oklahoma and that this drought does not need to continue.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't, because the question that I would always circle around and come back to is, can the OU football program get back to where it needs to be without predominantly recruiting Texas? And I think we're going to have to not only pose that question, but wait and see if it can be answered, because this isn't the class to point to if you're an OU fan and say, we're going to feast on Texas talent, because they have 2 commitments now. It's been a while since they've gotten one. And there are limited guys that they're in on at this point to turn that around. Davian Gross at Frisco Lone Star is a name that I think if you're an OU fan that you should track pretty closely. We're going to hear from Jordan Clay in a little bit. He's got an OU official visit coming up, so that's a big name potentially that they could pull in from Texas. KJ Ford and Zachary Turner at Duncanville are 2 names to really keep on your radar, I think, as this recruitment process goes throughout the final stages. And I look at this as being the final stages, right? June 20th is the last weekend for official visits before the dead period. And KJ Ford canceled his OU visit, so he's not going to be able to make a trip to OU before, the dead period. So if they were going to be able to reel him in, it's going to have to come after that during the season. So will he wait that long to commit, or will he take a look at a school like OU if he does make a commit to another school? Because I got news for you. If you don't take an official visit, you're not going to that school.
No.
You know what I mean?
You got to get up there.
Yeah, you got to get them on campus. You got to be able to compare your program to some of the other big programs. And I know Alabama hit it out of the park with KJ Ford. So the bigger question to me is, can OU football be what it needs to be and have a not as big of a presence here in Texas? And I think the answer to that is no. Most of their big stars are from the Lone Star State. And I know OU is a national recruiting program, but they need to recruit. They need to be aggressive
keep that
in
pipeline.
Texas. Exactly. And it's disconcerting to me if I'm an OU fan this season that it just hasn't been here. That's just my opinion on it. I just can't believe that there would be a year that I didn't think about OU being like one of the top 5 programs in Texas when it comes to like landing Texas players.
Well, the past couple of years, I mean, 2024, 2023, 2025 even. I mean, you averaged 7 recruits from the class or from the state of Texas as a whole. Right now, you only have 2, which I think is kind of.
And there's been a long time in between those. And I would have, if you would have asked me who OU has the best shot to land from Texas over a year ago, Ryder Mix and Noah Best would have been 2 of those names. So these were guys that they already had an in with. Like these were guys who already thought that OU would land if they wanted them.
I think I saw an interview with Noah Best and he said that OU was his dream school. And so he was like, if everything kind of goes as planned, like that's kind of where I want to go. So yeah,
it's the Taylor Tatums and the Bowen brothers and all these guys who have made up these rosters in recent years and made them special. They beat their rivals for those schools.
Yeah.
Right? They have to beat Texas. They have to beat Texas A&M, LSU, and Alabama now for these recruits to sustain success in the SEC.
Yeah. A lot of fun things to watch over the next couple of weeks as we wrap up official visits and commitment dates and whatnot.